yachting world called it the Ford Model T of 40-foot yachts. And for Bavaria's sake, let's hope they're right. The company filed for insolvency back in 2018 and had to be whipped back into shape under new management. A monumental task just as COVID hit and new boat sales were tanking. The first boat new management made to relaunch Bavaria as a brand was this, the C42. And new management made some decisions. First, in a sea of twin helm, twin rudder designs on 40-something foot boats, Bavaria opted for a single blade on this boat, saying their owners preferred the close quarters maneuverability of the prop washing its thrust across a single blade. And as a person who often finds themselves in tight marinas maneuvering sharply, I'm inclined to agree with that, as long as that single blade doesn't lose traction when I put the rail of this 14-foot beam in the water. I also like the idea of one rudder because it means one quadrant to maintain and, more importantly, one hole in the boat down below instead of two. Without delving too deep into the twin versus single rudder designs, a single will start to slip when you push the boat too hard. It'll lose traction and it'll let you know that you're pushing too hard and you need to sheet out. Well, twins won't give you that information, so you'll just keep pushing hard beyond the limit of something, whatever is gonna break first. Hopefully the twin rudder boat will just round up. The now industry standard fold-down transom leads to a twin helm massive cockpit on this boat. In a world where everything is a trade-off, the cockpit size is made possible by foregoing the use of a main sheet traveler and instead using a bridle system on the coach top leading to the midpoint on the boom. Mainsail shape is much harder to dial in with this system, which buys you all that space to entertain guests out back. All lines are led aft to the coach top on this boat as well, so if you're single-handed, you'll spend most of your time at the companionway trimming, running the autopilot full-time. Nothing on this boat screams single-handed enjoyment. Headed up front, we note the stainless grab rails and pause to notice the chain plates. Manufacturers are moving away from holes in the horizontal decking and bolting shroud terminals to the side of the hull instead, and then hiding them with a plastic cover. I genuinely like this. I can cut the 4200 seal on the plastic cover to see my chain plates, and then for me, probably never put the cover back on. I like to see things that can rust. The optional self-tacking jib on this and basically every new boat now means it's much easier to sail at the expense of canvas size. An easily manageable head sail in all points of sail for sure. Forward to the rounded bow and the single stainless roller that will accommodate a straight shank anchor, which is actually getting kind of rare, in front of a vertical windlass, but the lack of a full bow pulpit. Don't let your dog up here, or your kids? Headed back, this boat has very sharp lines and hard edges. Nothing functionally important there, but an interesting aesthetic. The 45-degree slice in the coach top roof edge, devoid of any anti-skid, looks like fun when the bow is wet and harder to navigate on a 15-degree heel. I can see myself getting hurt up here. The fractional double spreader rig comes with an in-mast furling system and solid vang to buy some mainsail shape control back, and everything is tidy on the deck, leading back to the coach top, and as an option, jib sheets leading back to electric primaries were available but not equipped on this boat. The cockpit layout is definitely rigged for entertaining and comfort, with the wheels as far aft as they could possibly mount them. The floor covered in a synthetic teak with an absolutely gorgeous teak cockpit table as the centerpiece. Though I did note that while it has ample cup holders and drink storage and all kinds of locations for ice and extra bottles, it doesn't have anything for line catchment systems for the mess that will undoubtedly be hanging from the coach top while you're under sail. Headed downstairs, we're greeted by veneer finishes, but done so in a nice way with a nice color. When this color is too light, it comes off as cheap, but they've given it a nice cedar color and it feels like a nice place to be. Aft, we have a reasonable aft cabin with ample room, actually, for 2 adults with a door that closes and lots of storage. This is nice and even enough headroom to not feel very confined. This is a pretty good size for a day head, or the main head on the boat, I would imagine. And we have a glass door for the shower, which is in here where the toilet is, and then you shut the door to the remainder of the head, which is the sink. This is a nice size. This is definitely very, very livable. Opposite the head, we get an L-shaped galley with no protection for use well under a good stiff sail, but the finishes are very nice. The fiddlework is short and beveled, however, which should serve to make it a little less effective at keeping things on the countertop. After the galley, we find the other aft stateroom, again large and ventilated and comfortable enough to sleep two adult humans relatively well. Often on these 40-footers, the aft cabins are too tight for a couple to actually be comfortable, but in this boat, it's very, very well done. I want to take a second to bring in the audio my camera caught while walking on this boat. The sole of the boat squeaking so often is why this video is actually a voiceover rather than real-time commentary of me on the boat. Sole squeak is definitely annoying on this boat, which brings me to one of the biggest questions I have about all these new boats. Why are there so many seams in the floor? This is not just Bavaria, but here's an illustration on what I mean. I didn't have a measuring tape, but I'd wager that not a single board is longer than 3 feet in most of the floors today. And yes, I know I'm using the word floor and not sole. But when I say sole, I picture a gorgeous teak and holly masterpiece of fine polishing and expert joinery. When I see laminate veneers underfoot, my mind jumps to the use of the word floor. And I'm sorry for that. I'll try to say sole more often. But this sole, it's just a floor to me. The nav desk in this boat is a little more than a side table for the settee, and I wouldn't imagine sitting here with charts unfolded using slide rulers to plot anything. Also, it's not fiddled at all, and it presents a very sharp corner as you try to traverse the main saloon. Up front, we get a significantly wide master bed with the corner cut out weirdly to make way for another head. This is a big room with lots of light, good ventilation, well thought out, but replacing this mattress might be a tall order. I'll stop talking so you can hear me walk into this head with the sole underfoot. This master head is less impressive than the day head that's aft, much smaller and doesn't accommodate a shower, instead opting for a shower wand that you can lift from the countertop. As we head back to the main saloon, I kind of got sidetracked by that sole again. Seam here, seam there, seam there, seam there, seam there, seam there. Access to what is ultimately an industry standard now, this Yanmar, is fairly good. The companionway stairs lift up on a gas spring for the front, and in each of the aft cabins you get a door to get at the sides of the drive system. Though the door isn't hinged, it's latched on all four corners, which is really awkward to use. It might make people less likely to go down there and check the oil. This 21,000 pound boat sports a deck-stepped compression post arrangement with 6,000 pounds of cast iron bolted on the bottom, and comes with two options for keels, as we've sort of become accustomed. A 5.5 foot, which is fine, and a more Euro-spec 7-footer, as most of these boats do. There's nothing inherently wrong with this boat. I'll pause again on the floor effect. Fridge. Also, a lot of manufacturers are now, instead of fitting fridges directly, installing these apartment-style fridges, or a bar fridge as we might call it, in a cupboard where the cupboard door is bolted to the fridge door. So when you open the cupboard, the fridge door opens. I'm not sure how I feel about this. On one hand, I can replace that fridge very, very easily. On the other, I can definitely see the cupboard door fittings coming free from the fridge door over time as the wood expands and contracts. Other manufacturers seem to be mounting these custom fitting isotherms in there, and it comes off as much less cheap than this bar fridge arrangement. Also of interesting choice is the thin wire to a single tiny screw that holds the cupboard doors from opening too far. I wonder how many times this tiny screw would support the weight of, say, the dishware that you were putting away before it gave way, allowing the door to fold too far, ripping the hinges from the veneer woodwork. In all, this is a very roomy boat, very nice boat to be on. It's hard to explain what I mean when I say a nice place to be. But inside this Bavaria, it's just that. It smells nice, it's bright, it's airy. Everything, save for that forward head, is roomier than it actually needs to be. Even the aft cabins are excellent at being a nice place to be. This is like a 3-bedroom apartment. Maybe it's the cedar color or the massive port lights, but I genuinely like being in here. If I were living at dock or perhaps on the hook somewhere, this would be a very nice place to live. If my intentions were to make 120-mile days and be at sea most of the time, I'm just not sure this is the right tool for that job. I've been getting on a lot of boats that we'll be showing you guys in the coming weeks and months, so please take a second to subscribe to this channel and give this video a thumbs up. It helps Practical Sailor a lot. Also, I have a request. What boat would you like to see a tour of? Leave a comment below and let us know, and we'll see if we can find one for you. Also, if you want to get me on your boat because your boat's worth touring and you want me to come there with a camera, send me an email at comments@practical-sailor.com. I'd love to come by with a camera, especially if your floor is in fact a sole. I'll see you guys next week.